I thought about getting you something nice, but then I figured this might actually help." That's what he said. I tore the wrapping paper open with a smile on my face. I was expecting earrings. A bracelet, maybe. It was our 23rd anniversary. Instead, I stared down at a bottle of weight loss pills. Silence. "You've been saying you don't feel sexy anymore," he added, as if that excused it. "I just thought, maybe if you tried, you'd feel better about yourself. And, look better too." My throat burned, but I couldn't swallow. My hands were shaking. I kept staring at the label like it might change if I blinked hard enough. He took another bite of steak. "Don't be so sensitive. It's just a gift." A gift? For what? For all the dinners I cooked, the children I raised, the way I stayed even when he didn't come home until midnight, reeking of vodka and someone else's perfume? I don't remember what I said next. Maybe I didn't say anything. Maybe I just smiled like I always do. That part's fuzzy. What I do remember, crystal clear, is the way he smirked. That smirk told me everything I'd ignored for years was true. He didn't love me. He pitied me. He looked at my body and saw failure. Something to fix. A problem he was oh so generously helping with. And in that moment, I decided something. I wouldn't cry. Not in front of him. I'd cried enough over this man to fill bathtubs. But that night, I dried my tears before they even fell. I picked up my fork, chewed cold mashed potatoes, and nodded like I was grateful. Because I wasn't going to fight him, I was going to ruin him. My name is Marlene. I'm 52 years old, and until recently, I believed loyalty could fix anything. I married young. Not because I had to, but because I thought I'd found the kind of love you're supposed to fight for. I was 29 when we had our first child, 35 when he started staying late at the office, 40 when he stopped touching me altogether. Still, I stayed. That's what good wives do, right? I planned every birthday, every holiday, every goddamn barbecue. I folded his shirts, laughed at his boss's jokes, even when they made me feel small. I gave up a promotion to be home more. He said it was better for the kids. Said I was being selfish for even considering it. He had this way of making his disappointments sound like compliments. "You're so strong, Marlene. Strong enough to understand what's really important." I thought that meant something. But strength? It doesn't mean silence. It doesn't mean swallowing every insult with a smile. It doesn't mean wasting your best years trying to make a man feel like more, while he makes you feel like less. When he handed me that bottle of pills, I realized he didn't just stop loving me, he resented me. And that's when I stopped waiting to be seen. I decided to be heard. That night, after he fell asleep snoring on the couch, I sat in the bathroom with the lights off. The bottle of pills was in my lap. I turned it over in my hands, reading the label again and again, like maybe there was something I'd missed. Suppresses appetite, boosts metabolism. For best results, combine with diet and exercise. Results. What result was he hoping for? A thinner wife? A more obedient one? Someone who wouldn't remind him of his age every time he looked across the dinner table? I didn't cry. I was too tired for that. Instead, I thought about all the times I'd joked about getting old together. How he used to laugh and say, "As long as you keep that smile, I'll be the happiest man alive." But somewhere along the way, my smile stopped being enough. He didn't say it out loud, but he didn't have to. Every time he looked at his phone while I was talking, every time his eyes scanned other women in restaurants like I wasn't even there, every time he made a joke about me, letting myself go, he was saying it. "You're not enough." It seeped into my bones, into the way I walked, the way I dressed, the way I spoke. I started hiding behind baggy clothes, avoided mirrors, deleted old pictures where I looked happy because they felt like lies. I'd been shrinking for years, trying to take up less space so he'd love me more. But here's the thing about shrinking. Eventually, you vanish. And in that bathroom, holding that bottle, I realized something terrifying. I was disappearing, piece by piece. And if I didn't stop it, there wouldn't be anything left of me to save. So I made a quiet promise to myself. I'm not shrinking anymore. And God helped the man who made me feel like I had to. The next morning, I made him breakfast. Eggs, toast, fresh coffee, just the way he liked it. He didn't notice the way I stared at him, didn't catch the pause when I poured his cup, or the way I lingered just a little too long before sitting down. That's the thing about people like him. They're so sure of their control, they forget to look for cracks. He scrolled through his phone while I buttered his toast. I watched his thumb flick across the screen, too fast for news, too focused for games. He smiled. Not at me. Something funny? I asked, my voice light. Nah, just work stuff, he said, tapping the screen off. That was the first lie of the day. I waited until he left for work before I touched his phone. I'd never gone through it before. I used to think that was a line you shouldn't cross in a marriage, but I wasn't in a marriage anymore. I was in a performance. And he'd cast me as the fool. It didn't take long to find them. Her name was Sabrina. Gym selfies, pouty lips, captions like hustle mode and bad girls get what they want. She called him babe. He called her trouble. The messages went back months. Photos, plans, hotel receipts. Things no man sends if he's still loyal to his wife. My hands didn't shake. I thought they would, but they didn't. Instead, I laughed. Soft at first, then louder. Not because it was funny, but because of how predictable it all was. He wasn't even original. When he came home that night, I asked him how work was. He kissed my cheek, said it was crazy as usual. Another lie. That's when I realized I'd been living with a man who lied like he breathed, constantly, without effort, and always with a smile. I started watching him. How he took longer showers. How he hid his phone face down. How he started working out again, using new cologne, humming pop songs he used to mock. And every new detail made the picture clearer. He wasn't just cheating. He was preparing to leave. The gym membership under her name, the joint bank account transfers, the sudden interest in downsizing. He was planning his escape. Without me. Without even the decency of a conversation. Just a slow fade, a new body in his bed, and a bottle of pills to remind me of the parts of myself he never wanted. But I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I smiled wider, laughed at his dumb jokes, cooked his favorite meals, let him think he was fooling me. Because while he was building his exit strategy, I was building something else. Evidence, screenshots, financial records, voice memos. Every lie, every betrayal documented. I made a folder on my computer called Home Renovation. He never opened it. He assumed I was planning another project. He didn't know I was redesigning my entire future. And he sure as hell didn't know he wouldn't be in it. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't confront him with the screenshots or the text logs or the receipt for the hotel with her name on the bill. No, I got quiet. And that's when he should have started worrying. Quiet is where women like me sharpen their knives. Every morning I smiled, packed his lunch, kissed his cheek like nothing had changed. He thought he'd gotten away with it. Thought I was too dumb, too soft, too afraid to do anything but accept it. But I wasn't accepting anything anymore. I was building my escape and his downfall. First, I opened a private account at a different bank. Transferred small amounts, nothing noticeable, just enough to create space, options. freedom. Then I made a new email address, one he didn't know about. I used it to sign up for everything: online courses, legal forums, support groups. I learned things, important things, like how to document abuse, financial infidelity, emotional manipulation. I talked to a lawyer under the name Marie. I laid it all out: his affair, our finances, the control he had over everything. She told me I had more power than I realized. It felt good hearing that, like someone had handed me a flashlight in a cave I'd been crawling through blind for years. Then came the real work. I created a fake social media profile. Nothing flashy, just a woman named Emma with a gym obsession and a lot of motivational quotes. I sent Sabrina a friend request. She accepted in less than an hour. Over the next few weeks, I planted seeds, subtle things, comments about how my guy was pulling away, how men sometimes say they'll leave their wives, but never do. I watched her start to spiral: the passive-aggressive posts, the angry emojis, the pictures of her looking unbothered. She was bothered. And meanwhile, I was setting traps. I tipped off the IRS about some inconsistencies in my husband's freelance earnings. Just a nudge. I knew he wasn't reporting everything. He thought cash under the table made him untouchable. I gathered emails, backdated receipts, every shred of proof I could find, created a timeline of everything. Then I printed it out and put it in a folder labeled taxes. Left it in my desk drawer, just in case. At night, I'd lie next to him, listening to him breathe, and I'd picture his face the moment it all came crashing down. The fear, the confusion, the realization that the woman he thought was broken had built a noose out of every lie he'd ever told. I wasn't going to leave him quietly. I was going to make sure he understood exactly what he destroyed and who he'd underestimated. This wasn't revenge. It was restoration. Piece by piece, I was putting myself back together. And he? He was about to learn what happens when you try to bury a woman who's still breathing. It started with a phone call. He came storming into the kitchen, red-faced and sweating. "Someone sent my boss pictures," he said. "Private pictures." I looked up from my coffee. "What kind of pictures?" His eyes searched mine, like he couldn't tell if I was clueless or cruel. "Of me and Sabrina." I blinked slowly. "That's awful." He paced, muttering about privacy and sabotage, about how someone must be out to ruin him. He was half right. Later that day, his company called to discuss financial inconsistencies. Someone had sent them a neat little package, anonymous, of course, detailing every under-the-table deal, every shady tax dodge he'd boasted about when he thought I wasn't listening. He lost the promotion first, then the job, and then Sabrina. She blocked him on everything after a very public fight online. Something about broken promises and hidden wives. I didn't need to get involved. I'd already done enough. He started unraveling fast, drinking more, yelling at the walls, at me, accusing me of setting him up, like he hadn't built the entire mess with his own 2 hands. That's when I handed him the folder, the one labeled taxes, the one with the printed emails, receipts, and screenshots, neatly organized. "What is this?" he asked. "Proof," I said. "Proof that I could destroy you completely if I wanted to." He sat down. "I'm not going to jail for you," I continued. "I'm not going to lose my house, my name, my future." You planned this," he whispered. "No," I said, standing over him. "You did. Every time you lied, every time you laughed at me, every time you made me feel like a stranger in my own skin." He didn't respond. What could he say? He looked at the folder like it might explode. Like I might explode. But I already had. Quietly. Brilliantly. And he never saw it coming. I moved out 2 weeks later. Not in the middle of the night. not with boxes and tears and long goodbyes. No, I left the way he deserved. Calm, prepared, and with everything I needed. I didn't take the house. I took the savings, the retirement fund, the car he loved more than our marriage. He begged. He threatened. He called me names I won't repeat. I didn't flinch. You wanted freedom, I told him. Now you have it. Enjoy the silence. I left the bottle of pills on the kitchen counter, unopened. A little note stuck to the top. This was never the problem. You were. I started over. Small apartment. Part-time job at first, then full-time. I took classes again. Things I was always too busy or too scared to try. I laughed more. Ate what I wanted. Wore red lipstick to the grocery store, just because. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. People asked me how I did it. How I found the strength to walk away. To fight back. I tell them the truth. Strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it just refuses to shrink. I didn't destroy him because I was bitter. I did it because I was done being small. So here I am, Marlene, 52, free. And if he ever thinks about coming back, if he ever tells people I was crazy or vindictive, I hope he remembers this. I was everything he thought I'd never be. Louder, smarter, unbreakable, and finally mine.